This season, Tanya speaks to endometriosis and chronic illness patients, those who are going through or have gone through the pain and the diagnosis of endometriosis and are navigating this extremely common but poorly understood condition. Over the last few years, an army of patients have arisen. They are speaking out, fighting back, doing their own research and raising awareness of endometriosis. Let's listen to these brave warriors who have decided that enough is enough and who will stop at nothing to reclaim their health.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Not Defined by Endo Podcast. Today's conversation is with Tanya. Tanya is a 30-year-old endometriosis advocate from London. She was suffering with endometriosis for 8 years before she was finally diagnosed and underwent extensive surgery. She now lives life with an ileostomy bag on her stomach because of endometriosis and how much damage it had done to her organs. It was so refreshing speaking all things endo, stoma, and living our best lives with Tanya. So sit back, relax, and join us on this conversation. So hi Tanya, welcome to Not Defined by Endo Podcast. It's so great to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
It's crazy because I feel like even though we've been on this in the same world of endometriosis community online, I don't think I knew you or, had seen you before the photo shoot that was organized by Natalie Blake a few months ago. And I found you quite interesting because I've seen the challenges that you've surmounted and you've experienced and you've, overcome. And I'm really excited to get to know you and to share your story with, everyone listening to the podcast today. So let's begin.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So can we start with your journey? Tell me a bit about Tanya and, how it was for you from, when you started experiencing your symptoms to, the journey you took to diagnosis of your endometriosis and treatment.
That's a big question. So when I started having symptoms at 19, when I was at university, I can't remember much before then. I just remember the first time going to the doctor on campus and saying I'm having these really bad cramps, these heavy bleeding, irregular bleeding, and just being told to go and take the pill. And I think that was most of the journey until I was like 26, 27, until I saw a gynecologist. So it's kind of back and forth to the doctors, trying different pills, different medications, just trying different different treatments, but without seeing anybody professional. And then I saw a gynecologist eventually when I was 27, I think, and was diagnosed in 2019 at the beginning of the year. And then from there, I had a diagnostic laparoscopy. I was told the extent of the endometriosis. I was told that it was quite widespread. It was all over my organs. And then I had a bigger surgery later on in the year, that's where I had my bowel resection. I got my stoma bag. They excised the endometriosis. They unstuck all my organs. I had stents in for a couple of months. So I had 2 further surgeries because of that as well. But that in-between period of getting a diagnosis took so long. And, I'm sure you can understand as well, you're trying every pill under the sun, you're ending up in A&E, like you don't know where you're coming or going. I had the medical menopause as well. So it's like your body goes through so much that it shouldn't have to either, not in that length of time.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. It's just crazy because as individual as we all are, our stories are so similar. And it's such a shame that, it's like these doctors have seen these kinds of, stories or these kinds of complaints over and over. So it blows my mind, when I see that all our stories are so similar and, we all experience that period where we don't know whether we're coming or going. We don't know what's happening. We're just trying to survive. And eventually, I think we are the lucky ones. I say lucky, but it took kind of lucky air quotes to get diagnosed. But it's interesting that you had a very severe
diagnosis, because it was similar to mine. When I had my diagnosis, I had a diagnostic laparoscopy as well. And I was all pumped up for it, because from everything I had read and what the doctor had said, when they go in there, they see if you really have endometriosis. Of course, they take a biopsy, and then if they see endometriosis, they would excise the endometriosis, because I had done a lot of reading and I knew there was a difference between ablation and excision. So I was excited to say, oh, are you going to excise? And then I woke up after the surgery and the doctor said, actually, I didn't do anything.
Same.
Yeah, I didn't take out anything because I can't do it. It's too extensive. And
same.
Yeah, you see, same story, similar.
Same.
I'm glad we can laugh about it now, though.
I know, but you know what as well? Like when I don't know how you felt when you heard that they weren't able to do anything. When I woke up, I was on my own, and then all I thought in my head was like, yes, I'm cured. That was really easy. I was only in there for half an hour. I can go home, a couple of weeks off work. I'll just chill and I'll be fine. I'll go about my life. Little did I know. And then I think I saw the doctor afterwards, and he told me what had happened. And then, like you probably said, oh, we didn't excise. It was too extensive. I just cried. And I just remember my parents being there, and I was like, I've never, ever, ever had an operation in my life. Now I have to go and have like 3 or 4 operations just for one disease that I don't even know how to pronounce.
I know.
Let alone like what it does, and it could be so widespread. It was mad.
Yeah. I think the only consolation I had then was that somehow I knew that the doctor needed to be experienced. And the fact that he was like, it can't be just me. You need to have, bowel specialist, a, urinary bladder specialist, and all of that. Yeah, don't worry, we'll get to you soon. And all of that. So I was happy that he didn't go in there and just poke around and do, whatever he wanted and made the situation worse. So I guess we can be grateful for that. So you said it was extensive. So do you mind sharing what parts like of your organs or bodies that they found endometriosis?
So they said I had rectovaginal endometriosis. So I guess it was all over the rectum, the vagina, fallopian tubes, ovaries, my bowel, my ureters, and my pouch of Douglas.
Yeah. And
then it had stuck all of the organs together and introverted it. So it's essentially pulled all the organs backwards. So when they did the surgery, they unstuck everything. The reason for the bowel resection was because the endometriosis was squeezing my bowels. And when they explained it to me, they said we couldn't get rid of the endometriosis without getting rid of that part of the bowel.
Okay.
So they couldn't just shave it off or excise it off. They had to resect it, which is resected quite close to my rectum. And then same with my ureters, it was quite weak. So I had stents for 4 months. And then I had another lot of cancer medication afterwards with that to ease the pain and help whatever was going on inside.
Okay. Wow.
So with all of that, I spent 6 months off work just in recovery.
Really?
And then it was a lot that I didn't even expect to happen.
Wow. So the ureters were affected and you had to have stents in. So what does this entail? Does it mean you have a catheter bag for urine, or what does that?
No, so it was like, so imagine your ureters are kind of your tubes going from your bladder to your kidneys.
Right.
So the endometriosis was on my bladder, which was impacting my bladder, but I don't know how it affected the ureters, but they were concerned about the kidneys as well. So it's kind of a tube around your ureters to give it time to heal. So I guess that nothing impacts it.
Right.
So I had that for 4 months, but no, luckily I didn't need another bag of catheter. I did have a catheter in hospital, but I was fortunate to be able to leave without one.
But
at the time, and I think you don't understand the effects that endometriosis can have, because at the time they were talking to me about reconstructive surgery and remodeling and plastic surgery of my kidneys, and all
Whoa.
of that as well was just, it was mind-blowing. And I thought, how did like my one period when I was 19 and having pain get to the point of now you're talking to me about reconstructive surgery? And I had to go through the doctors and them show me the insides and the x-rays and everything, and the MRIs about what that would look like if it got worse, and what would happen if my body didn't like recover the way it was supposed to be. It was so scary to go through.
Oh my God. Well done. You did good. You went through a lot.
Came out of it.
Come out of it the other side. I'm really happy for you. And how about the bowel resection so that one, so they cut off parts of the bowel that they could not take the endometriosis out of, right? And does this mean they then sew it back together, the other ends? Like what exactly is, how does it work? I really want to know.
What I understand, they resect the bowel, and then the two end parts is what forms my stoma. So that's what is on my belly at the moment.
Oh.
So when they reverse it is when they stick it back together.
Right. Okay.
So I've got a loop ileostomy. So I've got two parts of my bowel coming out onto my stomach.
Okay. And then the bag is on your stomach holding it together, right? Do you have to go to hospital? I'm just asking. I hope you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm asking because I know that so many endometriosis patients with deep infiltrating endometriosis might be at risk, or of having this bag, and I think it'll be really good to understand from your perspective how it works and everything, because I feel like just like you probably didn't got information being thrown at you. I'm sure you had to maybe do some reading, and everything was just being thrown at you. It must have been really overwhelming. So I feel like someone who's listening now would really benefit from understanding exactly what exactly is. So that's why I'm asking this. So now that you have the two parts of the bowel, so they've cut off a part, and then there are two parts left, and those are pulled out onto your stomach, and then there's a bag, right? So do you have to like go to hospital regularly to change the bag? Like, what is your daily life? So when you came out of hospital with the bag, first of all, how did it feel when you woke up and you knew that you had to have that in your life? And then how do you deal with it on a daily basis?
So I had no information at all that I was getting a bag. I woke up, I just felt my stomach and I felt a bag. I had no prior knowledge. I didn't know what the stoma, the function was. I had heard of it, but I had no understanding of what it would do and how it impacts your life. Mm-hmm. Normally, I would think when you're being told you may have a stoma bag, you see a stoma nurse beforehand and they mark your belly as to where it's going to be. They give you some preparations. I think they give you some bags so you can get familiar with the bag and emptying it and put, and just trying it on your belly. I had none of that. I was always told that I wouldn't need one, and that they do surgery without impacting my bowel. So when I woke up, I just felt it, and then I cried. And then I think I saw it properly about 2 or 3 days later when the nurse came to see me to empty it. So yeah, I kind of had to adjust to it in hospital. I didn't look at it for days and days and days. I mean, I didn't know what it was. So I didn't know it needed emptying. I didn't know it needed changing. I didn't know it needed cleaning. And nobody came to tell me that for a few days.
Yeah, that's not good enough. I feel like, care is not just, doing a surgery and, bish, bash, bosh, that's it. You should have been told, you should have been prepared for it. Okay, maybe they didn't realize that it would happen, but for something so extensive and they knew that it was extensive, the risk, would have been there. So for them not to tell you, I think that's not good, not good enough. But
no, it was a shock, definitely. And what was funny, like when I was sat in the hospital, I got a letter as well from the hospital to say, these are the results of your MRI. We can do your surgery without needing a stoma bag. I was like, well, this is a bit stupid now because I've got it. So it's pointless, telling me otherwise.
Yeah.
But yeah, leaving hospital was okay. They give you the supplies and then they teach you how to order the supplies, what companies to go to. what bags to try out. You just have to find, I guess, like clothes or shoes, whatever fits right for you. So you just find what bag fits right for your body and your stoma. There's so many different types, so you kind of like trial and error. So everyone's different, but I change mine every day. You can change it every couple of days, or some people I think have it for maybe 5 days or longer. And it depends on what type of stoma you have. So you can have a colostomy or ileostomy bag. So I've got an ileostomy. Yeah, I mean, I empty it maybe 3 to 6 times a day and then change it
Oh,
every day.
really?
So yeah, you don't have
Also,
to go
you
to the hospital or
empty.
anything.
Okay. Oh, I see. So you empty it multiple times a day, but then you change
Yeah,
the actual
yeah,
bag once a day.
yeah.
Okay. And is there a risk of, is there a way, like, is there something that makes sure that those parts of the bowel don't go back into your stomach? Is that possible?
Yeah, it is possible. They have to staple it to your stomach wall. So I think
Right.
when they do the surgery, they have to pull out enough bowel so that it doesn't
Go back.
revert back in. Yeah,
Right.
and I guess naturally, so it doesn't pull itself back in. But
Mm,
it's stapled, yeah, to your stomach wall. So hopefully, but with mine, I've never had that problem, thankfully. Yeah, they just have to pull out enough so that that doesn't happen. But like, there's no nerve endings. Like, it's not painful for me,
okay.
and thankfully, I don't have much pain with it. I've had like blockages and leaks, which is part and parcel, I guess. But
Yeah.
thankfully, it's not a daily thing. It happens every now and then, and it's more manageable now than it was before. But
Okay.
it's just once you get over that hurdle of having the first leak and you just see poo everywhere, and
Oh my God.
you're panicking and you're crying, and I've had it in public, in the airports, at
Really?
home, yeah, like
Oh
all over my
no.
clothes. And it's just, yeah, when you get used to it, I say get used to it, once you've overcome the fact that that could happen, it
Yeah.
becomes easier to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just taking your
That-
supplies with you when you go out as well. Like, I've got a bag in my car, I've got bags in my bag, and when you're
right.
traveling, just making sure you've got the extras with you just in case anything happens.
Okay. I'm going to talk about stigma now because I know it can be easy to have something that is perceived as, I mean, it's a health challenge. And then because of that health challenge, you have to have this to cope and to help your quality of life. But I know that it's, stigmas will come with that. So let's talk about the stigma that comes with having an ileostomy bag. What would you say you've experienced and how have you been able to overcome it?
You know what? Thankfully, I've not experienced any negativity or any. I say, like, like online when you put yourself out there and you show yourself. I've never had any negative comments towards
Okay.
what I've put out there and what I've shown, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, I think, like, even just talking about it and being honest about it and having a platform to show what it's like for me maybe has made a difference. Maybe because we are so open about what we talk about. Like, if you hear my friends, or our conversations are like, it's literally like periods and poo. If you're talking to me and you're asking me about my endometriosis, that is literally, it's like periods and poo. That is all what I'm about when I talk about my health. Um, so I don't have any filter in that sense. And I think when you are comfortable in having that conversation,
Mm,
it makes others comfortable enough to ask questions, and it removes that stigma. I think,
yeah.
if anything, I've had more stigma around like periods with professionals, or like when I've gone to GPs and I've had ethnic GPs and they say, things like, oh, it's just in your ethnic makeup to have a heavy period, or it's because you're Asian that you have a heavy period.
Wow.
It's I've not had that with friends and family. I've
Okay.
had it with professionals,
Which is
and
such
it's just,
a ridiculous.
it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's removing that stigma from that profession, because I think when it's around your circles and your friends and your family or your community, you can probably control it more by having an open conversation. Whereas someone that already thinks they know about periods or they know about endometriosis, and you're trying to tell them about yourself, will probably have a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
So I think, like yourself, if I'm trying to educate you about myself. You might have more questions and it's easier for me to navigate that conversation.
Yeah.
Rather than someone who's got supposedly 50 years of medical history.
Very true. Oh, I'm glad though. I'm really glad that I think you restored some of my faith in humanity. Just because, like you said, even, speaking about periods, I realized that I'm also very open now. Like before, I would have thought that I wouldn't be able to say things to even men, like,
yeah, same.
do you have a sister? Does she have bad periods? And maybe she should tell her to go check it out. Like I've spoken like that to, men. And, I speak to people about my periods. I speak to people a lot about endometriosis. Like sometimes I'm like, Tanya, I think you're saying a bit too much. You need to relax. Not everyone.
I don't care anymore. Like I'm so unfiltered with it. Like even a few weeks ago, I went into the office. I was having so much pain, and I went into the office, and I went in tracksuits. Like, I mean, it was just tracksuits. It was just a nice pair of tracksuits, and I was, dressed it up and everything, so I didn't look like I was at home in my loungewear.
Yeah.
And a male colleague said to me, he goes, "Oh, you're very brave coming into the office in trackies." I was like, "Listen, I've got pain. I've got women's health problems. I've got period problems. If you want to know, whip out my medical history and I'll tell you why I'm wearing tracksuits. It's not affecting my ability to work. So if you want to keep commenting, sit down, like."
That's good.
And he sat there and he's quiet. And I was like, exactly. If you want to start me, I'm PMSing and everything. So don't even get me started.
Don't even get me started. That's really good. I like that. But yes,
so being open, I think it really helps.
Yes, I think it does. And the thing is, you never know who might just pick something from something you said. Like a friend of mine recently told me that I think her neighbor they were supposed to go for some, they have kids, so they were supposed to go for some kids. Their kids were meant to go for a party, but then she was really looking forward to it, and all of a sudden she was like, "I can't come." And my friend was like, "That has happened a few times." So she just said, "This sounds like Tenny," because there are loads of times that Tenny is supposed to go for something and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm dying. I can't do this." So she asked her, and guess what? She has endometriosis.
No.
And honestly, and she was like, the first thing she did was send her, Not Defined by Endo, the Instagram page, and just told her, you get information, if you need anything, you can speak to her. So that's what I mean by you never know. Someone might just say, "Oh, actually, this sounds familiar," or Tanya had said something, and, ask you more questions, or, do their own research. So yeah, it's good. We're brave.
Yeah, it's important. I think it's just, creating a safe space where people feel that they can ask you questions and you are approachable, and you're not going to get a response that is like, "Oh, you should know this already." It's just sharing information and sharing your experiences.
Yeah, very true. I want to ask about how I think I have a feeling I already have an idea of how your family and friends, have taken the news of you having a chronic condition, having the bag and all of that. So how would you say they have been, and including your co-workers as well and colleagues?
You know what? They are amazing. Like, I wouldn't have a bad word or a bad friend or family member. Like when I was in hospital, everybody came to see me. I don't think everybody understood the extent of what I was going through either. So I think it was a surprise as to how much had happened. But honestly, I'm so thankful. Like everyone came to see me. Even friends I hadn't spoken to, family I hadn't spoken to, were reaching out and just checking in. And my friends are generally really, really understanding anyway. So like you were saying, when you say you're not able to go out, if I've not been able to go out, they bring out to me. They'll come and sit with me, and they'll or like I'll drive to one of their houses and we'll just sit in their house and chill. So we're still with each other, we're just not outside. And you can take your hot water bottle and have tea and just chill. But they've always been really kind in that sense. To if I've not been well, they are very understanding and like quite accommodating. And same at work. Again, I've not really had any bad experiences at work. When I was off sick, they were really, really good to me. Like my management were really good. I've had like 3 or 4 different managers in the same workplace. I've had to re-explain everything to managers, and now they've all been men. So I had to explain to men, I've had these surgeries. I might feel like this sometimes. And again, they've been really, really good. And, they're saying, "Oh, send me some stuff so I can research it. Where can I read more?" But yeah, again, same probably with friends and family at work. periods and poo, and that's all. If someone asks me about how I'm doing, that's what I'm talking about. And like you as well, that it's opened up a conversation to the point where other colleagues have come to me to say, oh, I've been tested for endometriosis, and oh, I've got fibroids, I've got cysts, what do I need to do, who can I speak to, what needs to happen? And they feel comfortable to come to me for advice and ask me, because everyone knows that I had surgery, everyone knows that I've got a stoma bag. It's like no secret. I mean, if they don't know, I'm like, where have you been? So it's just yeah, they've been really, really good, so I can't complain. And when I needed time off, or I feel unwell or need to nap, like management have been okay to say, take a couple of hours and come back afterwards, or make up the time. So I think I've been fortunate enough to be able to be open again, to have that conversation. But I know not everyone's in the same boat, so I would say if they aren't, just talking to HR, get some advice. And there's things like Endometriosis UK have their employer friendly scheme, and there's other sources to get advice about how to tackle that topic, because I know workplaces aren't the easiest, so it's hopefully getting the best advice to best support them. But every employee has rights anyway, and you have sick rights, so if anybody's struggling, it's just knowing what your rights are and speaking with the right people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's really good. It's amazing to see, because I've heard lots of bad accounts of people who their managers have not been really nice about it. But I'm also lucky, because my previous company, I remember I didn't tell them for so long. I was still in the process of even finding out. So eventually when I found out and told my manager, he was like, immediately he was so worried. You could see it on his face, and he went and started researching about endometriosis. And I was so impressed, because I was like, wow, this is amazing. It just shows that they value you and they care about what you're going through. And then my next organization, I didn't even waste time. Like maybe week 2, I just said, can I speak to you? To my manager, and we went to have coffee, because I just thought there was no point starting. Actually, before I had to move my start date because I had surgery. So I was like, you know what, it's best to just let them know from the very beginning. So, and they were also really understanding. So it's really good to have that. It's really important. So lucky us. Yeah, so you mentioned something when you were talking about being in pain, when you were talking about going to the office in pain. I was going to ask how you found it since your excision. How has the pain been? Do you feel like, you've got your quality of life back? We all know there's no cure for endometriosis, but what has it been like for you post-surgery?
You know what? The quality of life has been so much better for me. Even just the stoma bag, I think it's been a blessing in disguise. As much as I hated it at the beginning, it's just little things like being able to go to the gym and get through a workout, or go for a walk and eat whatever I want to eat. Whereas before, when I had the bowel problems, I could barely like leave a restaurant or finish a meal without my food going straight through me. And I felt like I was always in the toilet. So now I've got a bit more control over that. And even like working out, I used to faint during a workout. I could barely even do 10 minutes, and now I can obviously last a bit longer. So the quality of life, yeah, definitely a lot better. I still have pain. I think my endometriosis has come back, but probably obviously not as severe as what it was before. So yeah, the pain is irregular, but it comes and goes. So like even just yesterday, I felt like I was dying.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it comes and goes. Like today I've been fine. I don't have periods anymore, so I haven't had a period in about 4.5 years.
What, really?
How? Yeah.
Are you on medication?
So I had the pill back to back, then I had the menopause, and then I've got the coil in the Mirena coil. So I've not bled since.
Really?
So yeah, so when I have like my PMS moments, I feel like I'm about to have my period, but I don't. It's just like pain. It's like period pain, but no periods.
Okay.
Yeah, it's different. The symptoms are different as well from when I had my surgery. So I get a lot of contraction pain, which I never had before. like on my front and my back, and then my legs as well seem to lose all sensation, so it feels like I can't walk. Yeah, like it feels like you're paralyzed and you just can't move until either medication kicks in or I sleep it off for a couple of hours. And yeah, and a bit same like before, where you feel like your insides are being pulled apart, and yeah, I guess regular pain that you would experience. But it seems, yeah, like I said, it's irregular, but it comes regularly, if that makes sense. So it's not every day, it's whenever it comes.
I wonder if it is like cyclical as well. Like, does the pain come around when you should get your periods, like around that time, even though you don't get periods? And then
I don't even know when I'm supposed to have it. It's just because it's been so long since I've even had a bleed. I have no idea when I'm supposed to have it.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
It hurts my heart so much when to hear the phrase, I think my endometriosis is back, because it's almost like inevitable, but it's really painful because of everything you've been through to get to this point, having very 6 months of not working and all that, having a bag, and then a few years later, this is between 2019 when you're diagnosed and 2022, so it's kind of really hurtful to know, but yeah, I guess we just have to soldier on.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm in a way, I'm glad I know that now, and I know my body now, and I know my symptoms now, to be able to identify it, so I can fight harder. If someone was to tell me otherwise, I can advocate harder for myself.
Yeah, that's true. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing everything about, your experience with, your treatment, your endometriosis, and also the bag. I think for me, I've really learned a lot because I really wanted to understand how it works with the bag. And I think you've done that. And it's really great that you are lending your voice in the community and sharing with people, because a lot of people are not as bold or as brave as you are, and they're also going through this. So I think hopefully someone somewhere will feel better to know that they're not alone.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So tell me about Tanya outside of endometriosis. We've talked about endo. Yeah. Who are you? What do you like to do for fun?
What do I like? To just be outside, enjoying and living my best life. I like getting dressed up. I love a brunch and dinner. Just doing, just adventurous exploring, getting on a flight, seeing new things, experiencing new things. I'm not one to sit around. I think if you want to do something, I'm the person to do it with. Yeah, just there's so much life to live, and I think in terms and just like having like an Instagram page and that kind of platform, I want people to see that there's more to life, and there's so much life to live in spite of having a chronic illness.
Yes.
Like obviously we all suffer, we all have our down days, and our bed days and everything. But when you have that spike of energy and you feel a little bit better, just grab those moments.
Yeah.
They're so priceless.
Yeah.
Literally, generally, like you said, out having fun, and that's it. Like,
that's good.
I can't even pinpoint. I just like being outside and just spending time with people that you love as well. It's just you can't get that back.
Exactly. That's so true. I'm trying to live a little bit more intentionally these days. Like you said, we have our hard days, our bad days, and sometimes it can almost feel overwhelming, like, oh my God, here we are again. But I think it's really important to hopefully, have days that you are kind of okay, and, grab those days and do something fun or something you like. It doesn't even have to be something you go out and spend money. It can just be, binge on a show or
going for a walk or something.
Exactly. That's really, really, really important. I agree with you. So Tanya living free, which is apt for everything you just described. Do you have any plans or any goals or vision of something you want to achieve with that platform that you've got now, when it comes to endometriosis or chronic illness, other than showing people that they can also live free and have a great time in life regardless? Is there anything else?
I just want it to be a positive space. So it's taken a back seat for me recently just because of like fasting and I've not had much energy. I just want people to see that there is life outside of our chronic illness, but also to feel comfortable in their bodies and to know, not everybody is the same, and that's okay. Like I don't find it easy to come across like other maybe Black or ethnic minority like girls or men who have stoma bags, and I want that to be a platform where people feel comfortable asking questions, and it's a safe space to ask questions as well, and just a space where you can see what it's about and it's a happy, positive space, at the same time showing the realities of what it is to have a chronic illness, but not always showing the down days.
Yes,
if that makes sense. Like,
true. Yeah.
Because for me personally, when I see people being down, when I'm down, I'm like, oh, I'm down even more. But when I see people's positivity, I'm like, okay, yes, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And I just, you want to message just a little bit of positivity between you and your online community. So I just want that to be a happy space for everybody. So yeah, realities in life. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, giving us a bit of your sunshine that page. Yeah, well, I agree. It's really good because being in a chronic illness community, especially online, it's very easy to just get into that hole of gosh, life is, I've seen some pages that made me even more depressed. And that's because they were so down and I felt so bad and I felt helpless. Like I couldn't even, it's not like I can help this person. I can't even help myself. So it's really good to, sometimes share positive things and show people that one, they're not alone. 2, they should not be ashamed, and 3, they can still live life regardless. So thank you very, very much, Tanya. Do you have any final words of advice for anyone, whether they've been diagnosed or not, whether they're young or old, who is in this space?
I think you've literally just said it. You're not alone. As much as you feel like you're alone, there's a community out there. I think there's someone for everyone to reach out to. Like if it's maybe not be you, it might be me. Or if it's not me, it might be you, and someone else might resonate more so with your story than mine, and vice versa. But there's always somebody to speak to, and take the plunge and just send that message or send that request. And don't be afraid to ask any questions. I think when you find a community that is supportive and helpful and can guide you through their own experiences, it's something that I know I didn't have when I was diagnosed. So I wish I knew there was that presence before. And things like your podcast and just talking to real people, when professionals and seeking that information, just arm yourself with as much information as you can so you can advocate for yourself, because we know ourselves better than anybody else. So nobody else is going to kind of tell us about ourselves apart from us, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So just as much information as you can.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tanya. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for sharing your story. And I really appreciate that. I believe we're friends now, right?
We were friends from before.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the podcast. Don't forget to share, rate, and subscribe. If you'd like to share your story, please reach out on Instagram or Facebook, or send an email to info@notdefinedbyendo.com. Till next time, remember, you are not defined by endo.